Welcome back to Andersen Acres. Today we're going to dive into how to properly condition your miniature horse for the show ring, starting with diet and fitness. Because miniature horses might be small, but when it comes to the show ring, they need just as much conditioning and care as their full-size counterparts. So whether you're preparing for halter classes, driving, or performance events, a well-conditioned mini will absolutely stand out in the show ring. All right? And it is worth taking the time before the show, so in the couple of months leading up to the show, to get your pony in tip-top shape. So conditioning isn't just about making your mini look pretty. It's about their overall health, their muscle tone, their stamina, and their confidence in the ring. One of the things you can do to keep your pony show ready is to control his diet. Good quality grass, hay, and mineral supplements are a really good place to start. Make sure you're adjusting the rations based on your mini horse's individual needs, because what Shadowfax needs is probably not what your little guy needs. Your guy might have to gain weight, and Shadowfax could stand to lose a couple. So you have to tailor your diet plan to your mini horse. If you're not sure how to do that, talk to either your equine vet or an equine nutritionist who specializes in miniature horses, because they are different. They're not exactly like the big guys. So if you speak to someone who is a little more versed in the little guys, they can help you get on a plan to either gain weight, lose weight, become trim, become fit. They can help you there if you're not sure on your own. The first time, you're not really going to know what you're doing. It's going to be hit and miss. All right, the first time you try to get your pony into that show condition, it's going to be hit and miss whether or not you're successful. So a little help is never a miss. Remember that your pony shouldn't be fat, but he also shouldn't be really thin. His belly should be tucked up, and he should have a fairly refined neck, and his hindquarters should be refined and strongly muscled, but his ribs and backbone shouldn't be immediately visible. You're not after thin, you're after trim. So walk that line carefully. You don't want your mini horse getting too skinny, because that can trigger a bunch of metabolic disorders, but you also can't show him carrying a bunch of extra weight. So not good for him either. So if you are interested in showing, you got to keep that pony nice and trim, not thin. It's a fine line. Next up, fitness, exercise, getting healthy. We could all stand to get a little healthier. So miniature horses might be tiny, but they do need regular exercise to build good muscle tone and endurance. Endurance is incredibly important in the show ring. They're going to be doing a lot of stuff, and sometimes for a very long time. They need it. So, what does good conditioning involve? Well, if your mini horse is quite out of shape, you want to start at the beginning. Start with just daily hand walking. Go for 15 to 20 minutes a day. Just put them on the lead rope. Take them for a good walk. Good 20 minutes, maybe up to 30 minutes, just walking. Okay, that'll help get him back into shape. Just like all of us, you got to start somewhere. So if he's out of shape, start with just a 15 to 20 minute walk, maybe up to 30 minutes. Maybe work your way up all the way to an hour. Just get him moving. It's good for him. Once he's been moving for a little bit and he's starting to look like he might be able to kind of get back into form, into condition there, you might want to consider lunging. This can help with muscle definition and responsiveness. Use a round pen or a lunge line for really controlled workouts. You can control the speed, you can control the pace. Do note that weanlings and yearlings shouldn't be lunged. So if you have a young one, don't lunge them. Their joints are still forming, and they will not benefit from the stress of the constant turning when you're lunging, which is basically going in a circle on that lunge line. You don't want to be doing that with a young one. So if you've got a young one, use another way to get that exercise. Don't do the lunging. Lunging is for older horses who need to build up their conditioning and their responsiveness, because they do learn to respond to you quite well when you're practicing lunging. You also might want to try obstacle training. This is a lot of fun for you and for the pony, but it's also really good for them. And it's especially handy if your miniature horse is going to be showing in performance classes. You want to practice walking over poles, backing up, responding to voice commands. This can be a lot of fun. Set up a course in your yard. It can be a great deal of fun for you and the mini and for your family. You can get everyone involved. It's a lot of fun. So consider doing that. Set up, you probably have some poles, some fence poles or whatever you've got. Just set a couple of things up as obstacles for your mini and have a great deal of fun doing it, because it is fun. You also want to practice trotting. So for driving classes or trotting in hand or even pulling a cart, you want to practice trotting anyway, but actual trotting does increase their heart rate and it does help them stay fit and trim. So a lot of trotting will help improve their endurance and overall fitness. A well-conditioned mini does move with confidence and energy in the ring. So just make sure you balance the exercise with rest. So if you exercised for 4 hours this morning, you're going to want to let them rest in the afternoon. Don't get crazy, okay? Don't get crazy. You want him fit and trim, not exhausted. So moderate the exercise. Make sure you are having some time where you are able to let him rest, let him enjoy being a horse. Even if you're taking him to shows, he's still a horse. He still deserves to be a horse. So let him have time to just be him in the pasture. Don't be constantly working him. It's not good for him. It's not good for you. So next up, basic health. It's really easy to get caught up in attending a show. Oh, we're going to a show. We got to do all this stuff. And then you can end up neglecting some very basic items. Your little guy needs to stay in good health. So preparing for a show is no time to neglect those basics. Make sure your pony is up to date on his vaccines. A lot of shows will not even allow you to bring your horse if you're not up to date on your vaccines. So just get those now and be up to date so you don't have to scramble at the last minute. Get your horse up to date on his vaccinations. You also might need a Coggins test. A lot of shows require a negative Coggins test before you can show up. So if you are looking to compete, figure out how far in advance you need to get that Coggins test, because there's usually a window. They want a Coggins test within the last 90 days or whatever, depending on the association that's running it. So do get your Coggins test in that window and make sure you have the paperwork. Talk to your vet about the test and the documentation. You have to have the documentation. You just saying, hey, he tested negative is not good enough. You need to have the documentation. Make sure you get it. And don't forget about basic parasite control and your deworming protocol. Whatever your protocol is, whatever you've worked out with your vet, keep it up while you are practicing for the show ring. You do need to make sure your horse is in good health, and parasite control is part of that. And certainly make sure your pony has his teeth and hooves attended to well before the show. You don't want a dental problem to crop up 1 week before you're supposed to be in the show ring. So definitely take a look at that. Finally, I want to talk about sweats. Many people like to use sweats to improve conditioning, but this should only be done after basic fitness improves. What do I mean by sweats? Sweats are basically wraps on the neck and the throat latch, or maybe the wither or even the belly, to help tone these areas. Okay? You can use either neoprene or fleece for your sweats. Those are the two most common, neoprene and fleece. There are a couple other materials, but neoprene and fleece are the most common. Neoprene sweats are really only for exercising. You only put them on when you're exercising your horse. They're usually left on for no more than an hour, and the area underneath the neoprene, as soon as you take the neoprene off, should be well rinsed and dried in order to just protect the health of the horse. You don't want anything to happen. So if you are using neoprene, short time frames, and then clean the area underneath afterwards, let the pony rest. Fleece sweats are a little less effective, but they can be left on while the horse is in a pen or in a stall. But you should still remove the fleece sweats when you're turning them out into the pasture. They can get caught on things, stuff can happen. So if you're using fleece sweats, yes, you can use them more than you can the neoprene, but when you're turning the pony into the pasture, you do want to make sure you've taken those off. I'm not the biggest fan of sweats, to be honest. I don't really like that very much, but they are an effective way to help condition your mini horse leading up to a show. Judgment call. I don't like them just because I don't like extra things anyway. I would rather just get him fit and trim, help him tone with a little exercise, and control his diet a little bit. I would rather do it that way rather than use sweats, but they are a viable option if that's something that works for you. So conditioning your mini horse for the show ring does take time, patience, and dedication, but the results are definitely worth it. Whether you're competing in halter, driving, or performance, a well-prepared mini will shine in that show ring. Have you ever shown your miniature horse? Let me know in the comments below. That's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Good luck at your next miniature horse show. We'll see you tomorrow.